motorcycle update. And it feels so good to be rugged so bad. Good morning, everyone out there. Leicester's back at CryptoTalk.fm. I am taking time. I don't even want to say wasting time because I assume there's going to be value by me spending time on this topic. I could be wrong. It's possible as well that the consensus disregards what I'm saying as not true. I would challenge anybody who's courageous to verify anything that I'm saying, because I think people who are not marks will look at what I'm suggesting and what I'm talking about. They'll go look at themselves and they'll see what I'm seeing to be the truth. Now, we don't have background as to why these things happen. This is what we call correlation. We correlate what we see and we derive an outcome, and we expect that the outcome must be the truth because, as Dr. Spock told us, once we eliminate all of the possibilities, whatever left, however improbable, must therefore be the truth. There are some curveballs to what I just said. Obviously, the first is that we're dealing with people who are shady as fuck. Nobody disputes that we're dealing with people that are shady as fuck. Nobody disputes that. I've said it openly. We're dealing with people shady as fuck. When you're dealing with people shady as fuck, some of the common rules cannot apply. But we also have to look at the other side, which is, as I've said, we have to rethink the definition of scam. And it really boils down to one question. Do they do what they're saying they're going to do? We have to see activity. We have to see action, and we have to see delivery. So far, we've seen some, but not all. So this is the inspiration behind today's upload, is to talk about what I see and to talk more specifically about the staking to try to help people. That's to try to help people. I don't do it for personal reasons. At no point have I asked any of you for anything personally. I do it to try to help people. By the way, that's called an advocate. Not people who I won't name who ask you for money to try to charge and go to war with no real case. Not for people that tell you that these shady people should go to jail and then end up imbibing, look it up, in alcohol to a point that they get arrested. By the way, that person, if that's true that happened, was endangering your kid every time he got behind a wheel, and you should be absolutely disgusted at trying to support such a person. I'm straight edge. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I barely like taking medication. I'd rather, for pain, I've got icy hot, sure. I've got some Bengay, sure. That's why allergies are kicking my tail, by the way, because I don't like to take medication. I can't stand doing it. I don't like the idea that I'm not in control of my life, to quote Neo from The Matrix. That goes beyond any sort of technical control. It also goes to any sort of substance control. When you are a substance user and or abuser, you are no longer in control of your life. Your life is being influenced by these substances. This, folks, is why, as you listen to me speak, I can put messaging out clearly in a way that you can consume. I do that because I believe this is what people should absorb, is clear, concise information. This, what I just said, is the very specific problem with the project known as BlockDAG. See how I put that together? Because communication is the number one thing they suck at. Obviously, they're inept with tech. I'm saying that for the purposes of what you see and what you hear, communication is what they suck at. I don't go to Telescam, but I hear the stories. There's an admin. The admin is telling people something that even contradicts what the CEO here is putting out. The CEO keeps talking about bullshit future state stuff that you don't care about now. They are not addressing what you care about now. They put brief mentions out. We just signed 2 new exchanges or things of that nature. They're not speaking about what you care about now, which is you already have exchanges out there. You've left them deficient on liquidity. When do you plan to address that? They talked about miners and shipping now. They're not addressing Why did it take so long? Why are they not getting paid? Why is Jeremy Harkness out there claiming they still have not been paid? They're not addressing the drama because all crypto projects do the same thing, which is, well, you just don't understand. It'll sort out. You just wait. It all do. All of them do that. So I didn't put it exclusive to this team. I see all of them do the same shit. Shinja did the same shit. Satama did the same. Floki did the same at a point. Kishu did the same. Kuma Inu, same. They all do the same. That's why I called this one essentially a meme coin, because they're behaving like a meme. If they had launched this as a meme, it probably wouldn't be as bad as it is, because at least you know what you're dealing with. You're dealing with something put out that does not state itself as doing a purpose. CEO would say, we are an actual ecosystem. Of course, there's a chain here. I'll talk about that here shortly. Of course, there are certain transactional things. The problem is, what functionally does it do? Nothing. He keeps talking about getting people to build. Might want to do, except that the documentation that's out there has not been updated for mainnet still to this day. There's allegedly a Docker in support of being able to interact with the chain for the purposes of setting up a node. That link doesn't work, so you can't do that if you wanted to. There's clear instructions how to do it. You can't. That link will not respond. That means you're trusting Genesis. Trusting Genesis is slow and inefficient. This might explain then why I see that there are miners, and I'll talk to that in a second. There are miners, but the mining rewards are shit. He would say, well, we need more nodes. Obviously, that's clearly the case. The problem with that is people might want to set up nodes, but you need to have the ability for the files and everything up to date. This requires technical skill. If you don't have the technical skill, you don't know that you need to be doing these things. So what happened yesterday? I'll say early in the morning yesterday. What happened goes to this technical skill that I refer to. The RPC, and if you don't specifically understand what RPC is, the RPC in simple form is how transactions are communicated across the chain. That's the simplest description I can give you. When you apply an RPC address, when you set it up in your wallet, underneath it, you can have one recipient or you can have multiple recipients. These are referred to as nodes. Something has to route your traffic. That's what the RPC's purpose is to help get your request and transaction out to the chain so it gets processed. Sometime early in the morning yesterday, the main RPC, which is rpc.bdagscan.com, stopped responding. It throws an invalid gateway error, which it never should do. The site, which is bdagscan.com, throws the same error. All the stats are gone. It's a buggy shit show. It doesn't work and has been down for 24 hours. In the AMA, the CEO did not address this problem like I think he should, because if you're a CEO, the main point of communication for what you call a DAG is not functional, and instead of talking about it, you're still fucking talking about lending and borrowing. Fast forward, I had planned to do this episode days ago, okay? And that's why I'm here now, and I'll talk about it, but I needed to give this preface because it's important. Everything I was going to talk to you about assumes the RPC is stable and functional. It's a gift and a curse that this happened because it exposes what I've been saying to be the truth, which is that you're dealing with outlaw, Mudshow, inept, rudimentary, rookie people that are trusting AI. And they don't really have the technical skill they think they do. They're trusting AI to do all this shit. Dowie, who's on the DagTech side, allegedly was made CTO, allegedly after Jeremy left. Jeremy's still featured on the site. Jeremy has been in forums with the consensus on record stating he's no longer there, but he's trying to help get people get miners. I don't know how he's able to do that, but whatever. I'll get to that on the tail end of the episode because I think it's a funny story. Suffice to say, Dowie runs DagTech.network, which is allegedly a different organization, but everything you see on that site speaks to specifically this BlockDAG situation. Dowie's been on the AMAs multiple times. He hasn't been seen recently. The DagTech site is the only place currently. They run a node or pool, I should clarify. They run a pool And they set it up to where you could do CPU, which is to use your computer's processing power. It's not very strong, but you can do simple mining. It's a buggy shit show, but you can do it. They have a GitHub out there. They don't know how GitHub works because people log issues and there's no responses. They can't seem to get Windows working for the fuck of them. I don't know about Linux because I don't run Linux, at least not at this point. And I shouldn't have to because the Windows, it's not that, it's all C++ code. They should be able to put out a Windows executable. The fact that they're not able to even get AI to confidently do that shows the incompetence because, and I'm deviating, but it's important you understand why I'm so confident in what I was saying. AI cannot test what it gives you. So if you tell it, I need to make this compatible with Windows, it'll take a swag at it. It'll try, but it can't know. It expects you to do the testing. That assumes you know what the fuck you're doing. That means you're going to set up a Windows PC. Stop being fucking cheap. Pay $300 to get a small. You don't need a major one. You just need one to make sure it runs. Or get a virtual machine. I know that's expensive because of Windows licensing. That's why I said just get a little $200-$300 Windows PC. They're even cheaper now. Get a little Windows PC, set it up, run your code, do the testing. If you're not a Windows user, you need to learn how to be one because if you're going to put out software intended for different groups, you need to actually test those to the point, and this is a minor pitch, but it's not a pitch. I'm using it to explain my point here. I wrote my own cryptocurrency wallet called Prism. I wrote it. I have some of the code myself. It's all basically web scripting type deal. AI played a part in terms of the functional pieces. I played a part in terms of some of the aesthetics. Together, it became, and then I evolved it over time. I just added another function to it to be able to scan contracts. When you do this, you have to own testing. Full stop. I have an iPad. I had to buy an iPhone. You're like, it's same OS. It is, but it's different screen sizes. They're different screen resolutions. I needed to make sure it works on both. I have Android tablets. I needed to get an Android phone. Why? There are different versions of Android. There's different screen resolutions. I wanted to make sure things are effective on both. I actually bought an e-ink device. It's actually a reader. It's a phone-sized reader, but it's just a reader. It has a browser. With the browser, because that's all you need for Prism, I was able to test and verify my freaking wallet works on an e-ink device. What does that mean? It means I have now, and computer is Windows, Mac OS, all of it. It means that no matter what, my wallet works on anything that's modern. If it's a modern device with a browser, it'll work. I don't care if you have an Echo Show. I don't care if you have some sort of Google something. I don't care if you have a smart TV with a browser. It doesn't matter what it is. Mine will work. And it's the only wallet right now. It's the only wallet that natively supports BlockDAG because they've essentially abandoned cold wallet. It literally hasn't been touched since April. It's abandoned. It doesn't work. I don't know why. I don't know why that made any fucking sense. Because apparently they acquired it and then did nothing with it. Why? I don't know. I don't have that answer. Trust Wallet does not fully support it. That's part of my topic today, which I'll talk about because there's people having issues with this. I don't know if MetaMask has the same issue, but it wouldn't surprise me because I see what's happening. All of this is because my wallet is purpose built to account for their buggy freaking code. Okay. Here's the explanation. And I'm going to target the staking, but it's essentially everything, but the staking in particular. The dashboard has a little of this, but the staking is the big problem. They told you staking.bdagscan.com. I believe that's what it is. That site is a buggy shit show because for two reasons. One, the front end is basically toast. It's not doing what it needs to do. Two, the back end is still relying on rpc.bdagscan.com, which isn't going to work because of whatever they're doing. So they told you, as in CEO, to go to staking.blockdag.engineering, which does work, and it's a stronger site. Even now, you can go there for your own deal and connect the wallet and interact with it. Now, why they're doing a completely separate domain, because you got to understand, like Trust Wallet, for example, if you add a custom network to Trust Wallet, you can't edit it. So that means you got to delete it and re-add it simply because they made a change. That's fine if the communication is solid. They tell you in advance, we're going to be making these changes. You're going to need to re-add it. Even better, they could just simply have rpc.bdagscan.com as a proxy or a rewrite, or however they want to do it. It doesn't matter, to get it to where your devices still use that address, but it just redirects to wherever it needs to go, to where things keep working. They didn't do that. It's been down for 24 hours. That's how I'm telling you that they lack technical skill, because I'm describing that's easy to do it. Why do I know it's easy to do it? Because sites do it all the fucking time. Prism, the wallet, is hosted on one of my own domains. I have a lot of them. It's hosted on one of my domains. It's just a subdomain of the domain. Then I have an alternate that's used for testing, like a beta site under the same. It takes me 2 minutes to do it. And I do that myself. I don't use AI for any of that stuff. I do all that myself. Have done. That's how CryptoTalk.fm became a thing. I purchased the domain elsewhere, transferred it to my own host, and I run it on my own hosting deal. And then, my other podcasts. My point is that name redirects are a common thing. They're easy to do if you know what the fuck you're doing. And taking your whole RPC down, I say down, and I'll get to that in a second, because you don't know how to do it, does not speak like a credible business. It speaks like an Outlaw, Mudshow, rudimentary rookie outfit of just a bunch of people trying shit that are fun. They think AI is cool, and they're just doing stuff and don't have the fundamentals to make it successful. This is what I see. Clearly what I see. Back to the staking then. People are having issues with the staking. I'm going to explain what's happening, because Prism, it's built smart in a way that it helps me identify exactly what's wrong so I can tell you. Because between the two, me and the AI, we were able to build something that gives more visibility for me to understand what's happening. And then I built around it, and everything's been fine. What happens is that the various wallets, Trust Wallet in particular, they're not fully recognizing the BlockDAG chain. And I don't know if that's just something that those wallets need to actually do. I suspect that's what it is, because when you try to send, and when I say Trust Wallet, I'm referring to the mobile version, Android, not the computer. The computer doesn't have this problem. But on the mobile Android version, when you try to send over BlockDAG, it wants to pick Ethereum. I don't know why Trust Wallet keeps doing that, and it's annoying. And then on the Apple side, you're wondering, how could you even deal with this stuff? You can't, because Tim Cook said you shouldn't need to be able to add custom networks. I can't tell you why they didn't do it. Stories online say that Apple locked it down. They locked down the ability to create the custom network. I don't know why it would matter, but that's the story. And that's why you wouldn't. So in order to do this, you have to have a computer. Again, I know some of you hate computers for some bizarre reason, because it's the best way to do this stuff. If you have a computer, you can add the Trust Wallet plugin to the browser, Chrome or any other, add your wallet into it, and you can work with it just like you would any other. You can also deal with custom network stuff. That's the only way to use Trust Wallet. If you're not aware, you can have your wallet exist in any wallet that you choose. So you could just take your mnemonic, it's called your 12 phrase, don't give it to somebody. You shouldn't give it out. I'm saying you should document it. It should already be on a piece of paper locked in a safe. But you can import that to any other of the wallets out there. Whether, again, Alpha Wallet should be able to take it. MetaMask, I think, is crap. But the point is, you can do any one of those. Some people like Base Wallet. I think that's up to them, but they like Base Wallet because it integrates with Coinbase. If that's what you want to do, that's fine, but you're going to be limited in working with something like this. Because right now it's catered to decentralized. So you really need to have a decentralized wallet. MetaMask is one of those. I just think it's crap because they told people they willingly violate your privacy. That's why I built Prism. There wasn't another wallet that I could see that did everything I wanted to do the way I want it done. So I built Prism, and then I purposely built in direct compatibility to BlockDAG, working around these various issues I'll be talking about, and I'm satisfied with it. I've got tons of them now. One of them handles the mining, one of them handles the buy, sell, and exchange, etc. For staking then, if you go to staking.blockdag.engineering, again, you can integrate directly with staking application. Here's the problem. Something's weird with the way they have Wallet Connect implemented, and I'm not exactly sure what's happening specifically. But what should happen is that when you connect your wallet and you use Wallet Connect, it should automatically understand which network that we're trying to interact with, but it doesn't. So it kind of defers to whatever wallet, I'm talking the actual, Trust or MetaMask, whatever. It's deferring to that one to tell the site which network it wants to interact with. By default, almost all, not all, but almost all of the wallets are using Ethereum, including Prism, because I built it that way. I built it to default to Ethereum because the vast majority of the time it shouldn't matter. I can connect to other D apps and it doesn't matter. I can connect to PancakeSwap and it doesn't matter because PancakeSwap is built to specifically tell the device you need to switch over to BNB. So somehow with their implementation of Wallet Connect, it's not enforcing the issue. And so when the wallet falls back to Ethereum, it's not obvious apparent that's happening. So when you get these errors like gas or it just failed, it just an error, or, there's one, you get a little red box that says an RPC error, all these weird things, that's because for whatever is the case, it's trying to fall back to Ethereum and it's not telling you it's doing that. And the site's not enforcing what it should do at the point of connection. So in Trust Wallet, the way you know that this is specifically happening, if you do the initial connection, you'll see it says Ethereum and it doesn't make any sense. And you got to back out of it, go up to the little browser, 3 buttons, 3 dots deal, click it, say network BDAG, and then you do it again. And then it says BDAG on the screen, but there's a little yellow question mark. That's telling you that, okay, you told me it's BDAG, but that's not what the connection is. I'll do it, but that's not what it is. It's Trust Wallet's trying to tell you something doesn't match. So when you do the connection, it'll let you connect. But if you do a transaction, unstake or stake or any of those transactions, it's fallen back to Ethereum without telling you that's happening. If you have Ethereum in your wallet, it's going to see that for the gas. Because it's ERC20, it'll still process the transaction. The problem is you don't want it to do that. You don't want it to try to send those over the Ethereum chain because you're going to lose them. So what I'm saying is I suspect what's happening with people who are fighting with the staking application, whether it's the BDAG one, that's an RPC issue, or the BlockDAG Engineering. I suspect they're actually trying to do transactions over the Ethereum chain, and so it's burning gas that they should not be. Because you shouldn't see gas that talks 500,000 and all that stuff. It's not that high. There's a problem, and I'm telling you that part of it is the way they have the damn thing coded, where they're not enforcing which network it should be using, which should be done from that site. I know this because I've done this countless times. The Thorium ecosystem and Libero, they had at least 12 different sites. They all worked spotless. Even the Phantom Libero. When you set it on that site, it specifically sent a request to say, I'm trying to do your connection as a Phantom Libero connection. So you need to connect to the Phantom chain. It did that automatically. You didn't need to then switch connection after you did the initial connection because it was already implied by the initial connection and persisted throughout subsequent connections. That doesn't happen here. So I suspect everybody having issues with staking deal is because of what I just described. It's falling back to Ethereum when it doesn't know any better. And if you're not like deep in the tech weeds, you don't know these things. I just happen to know because I built an application designed to show me what was going on. It gives me debug data, it gives me stats and all sorts of stuff that told me what was wrong. Plus I'm a crypto auditor and I do development on the side. So between all that, I needed to get more visibility to what was happening, which told me they just don't know what the fuck they're doing. Bottom line, that's my summary on that. The thumbnail you see highlights what I'm saying. I'm able to successfully interact with the staking, but only once I figured out what it was doing and overrode it, because like I called out with the damn stablecoin. I had tested it and it kept talking about a lack of gas. It was the same root cause, same problem. So I was able to do that because I had done to test it. Okay, it's a beta. I don't care. Minted. It was a ripoff. Okay, fine. Give me back my BDAG. That's try to get it back, that's when it would fail. And I said, if you have a minuscule amount, it's failing. That's because it was falling back to Ethereum when it shouldn't do. In summary, if you're running into those weird issues that are talking, again, gas or transaction RPC error or any of these things, I'm almost guaranteeing you it's falling back to Ethereum when it shouldn't. And that's because it's a buggy shit show. That's what's happening. Now, big talk on this whole big picture. RPCs, rpc.blockdag. or BDAGscan.com does not effectively work as of this recording. There's another RPC. I am going to advise that you do not connect to it. I would advise giving the team the opportunity to speak about this issue and officially announce something. So I'm giving it because I found it and I did test it, but I'm not asserting that it's safe. I do these tests. I have to because that's how I report. That's what an advocate does. RPC.BlockDAG Engineering does seem to be functional for the purposes of basic send. I did a send from my mining wallet, sent it over to my other wallet. It did not show up for when the recipient wallet was rpc.bdagscan.com. And of course, you cannot interact with rpcbdagscan.com for outbound or for these tools. But when I set up rpc.blockdag engineering on both sides, the coins showed up with me having to do nothing else. So let's look at the pattern. Staking.blockdag engineering, rpc.blockdag engineering, Explorer. Did you know that there's actually a different Explorer out there for BlockDAG? There's actually a different Explorer. The Explorer that they've got, I have mixed opinions about it. I understand what it appears is the strategy, but I have mixed opinions about it for the purposes of mainstream acceptance. It feels more like, let's just copy what another chain's doing. That's explorer.blockdag.engineering. So if you take all the existing sites they had, it's just something.blockdag.engineering. Staking, RPC, Explorer. I would assume, I haven't tried, but I would assume that the stablecoin and other stuff will be rolled over to this at some point later. I don't know, but I would assume that to be the case. It's not as of right now. But I tested Explorer.blockdag.engineering. The transactions do seem to correlate to what I would expect. And again, I did test rpc.blockdag.engineering, but I'm not advocating that you do it until the team speaks about it from an official perspective. They need to speak about what's happening. So do not, at this point, follow what I'm doing. I'm taking the risk so you don't have to. That's my message. So people can't come at me saying I'm doing something. I'm specifically telling you not to do it and telling you why I am doing it because I had to report on these things in the hopes that the team will officially announce whatever the fuck it is they're doing. My theory of what they're doing is they're building away. When I say building, I don't mean the chain specifically, but they're building away from the stuff that was created under the Turner regime. That's what I theorize is happening. And maybe they didn't have access to some of this stuff or it's compromised. I talked about how one of the consensus got access, improper access, illegal access to contacts for people who bought miners. I also happen to know that they were able to connect via APIs that they should not have been able to. So I'm sharing what I think is happening, leaving it to the team to actually speak on it like a real business. I think they're trying to remove all the old framework that sat over top of this and essentially build from the ground up brand new front ends, brand new back ends. I think they're trying to move over to it. My beef only, again, if I'm right, you should be telling the team that. You should be telling the community this. And be honest, if that's what's happening, that you're trying to move away from the Turner regime, just say so. That's what it seems like is happening. I don't know for sure, but that's what it certainly appears. Again, I'm not a fan of the scan that they've got. They just copied a Block Scout deal. And it looks generic like everybody else's, but it's certainly something. I would say it's visually, it's more technology wise. There's more there than what BDAG scan did. I just don't think it'll appeal to mainstream, but maybe that's the goal, is to just get it to standards so that it appears professional. Maybe some exchange told to do it. I don't know. I'm going off what I see. So that goes to the miners. On the DagTech site, I talked about how DagTech and Dowie apparently has taken over from Jeremy Harkness. I can't prove it, but apparently that's what's happened. DagTech.network is back up again, and their subsites were always working. So they have their own Explorer, they have their own RPC, they have a miner site. It's all AI at the end of the day. The DagTech site points you to what they call Jarvis. Jarvis is a dashboard for miners. This one is fine to go to if you want to take a look at it. It's called miners.dagtech.network and /V8. I don't know if the V8's required, but miners, plural, .dagtech.network /V8. And it gives a dashboard that I think is butt ugly, but the dashboard gives a couple of things I'll call out that I think will be of interest to you. It calls out the mainnet tips, okay? It talks about the active nodes, and it talks about the status, age, location. It gives a lot of statistical information about what's going on that lets you see, in my perspective, it lets you see more about the true health of this thing. So when it says Cape Town, we know Cape Town's where CEO's from. And then it's got US West. So they actually have running nodes in the United States. Then they have these sections for QNG and consensus nodes and execution nodes. One of these specifically calls out X100. When you look at the X100, there's a gap number. The gap number, according to how I'm interpreting what's happening and how I'm interpreting it, is seeming to show that their node distribution is lacking, that it's not keeping up like it should to keep the two sides in alignment, the EVM side and the BDAG side. That's how I interpret it. Later down, they have a solo. So this is pools now. There's a solo, and this is it says it's an X100. It gives the port it's connecting to. There's CPU and GPU pool, and it has 12 miners, so that's pathetic. And then it's got an ASIC pool. There's only 4. Beneath the ASIC, it's got an X30. So it's saying that there are 4 X30s out in the wild, as I interpret it, and this one X100 is doing the vast majority of the work. This is how I'm reading this. I'm reading that the one X100 that's sitting there, which it calls out Gold Shell Hero, that this one X100 is doing the heavy lifting for all of the transactions that are occurring, if I'm reading this correctly. Then it's got a target and a benchmark that's been set. Now, the benchmark is based on essentially amount of BDAG. The benchmark, it gives a accept and reject number. It gives the clock for the hardware, which is extremely low, by the way, and it gives the number rejected and the number accepted. If you look at their GitHub, and if you don't want to be bored, it's fine. But if you look at their GitHub, there's multiple reports about the fact that significant shares is what's referred to are being rejected for no clear reason. My interpretation of this data is they simply don't have enough technology keeping the thing running. And it's running on bare bones. We saw that though. If I'm right in how I'm interpreting this, running at bare bones, first of all, the X100 running at a dirt slow 845 millihertz. I mean, that's crazy. Remember that Turner had talked about that they were going to throttle those. Well, why would they throttle them? And people ask the question, what are you trying to do? And why do they seem to have the specs of a less than a phone? My guess, it's only a guess, because I don't even see like X1 on here, which isn't really mining. I don't see X10 on here. All I see is X30 and X100. My guess is they're expecting a certain level of performance out of the individual machines with low specs on purpose. This is theory, on purpose, so that it does not consume significant amounts of energy to run it. That's a theory. I can't say it's 100%, but that's my theory. It's the only thing I can think of about why I would see what I'm seeing. It does not give me any strong stats on the X30 at all. It basically says 0. And then the CPU, GPU, it's extremely small. That's where I was mining before, but it's not, first of all, it's not stable. Second, it's not rewarding. I get like a penny after running for 12 hours. It's not worth doing it. And I'm wondering if the CPU, GPU, let's say CPU, is what should be for the X10 miner. Where the X10, you can let it run and it doesn't need to be significant powered, but you let it run for 12 hours. And at the current, you make basically a penny a day, with the theory that the price goes up such that, so for example, there was 250 sitting in the wallet. I used some for testing. So now there's about 150 sitting in the wallet. Okay. So you get, let's say, a 10-cent target. I think that's high, but let's say 10-cent target. So, okay. Wow. $15 out of this thing after 2 days of mining. Well, and no electricity on it. Is that what we're seeing? I don't know. I'm saying, is that what we're seeing? Low energy usage, low utilization. And then if you get the higher machines, you get more. They talked about 2,000 for the X100. We understand nobody has them. The site seems to indicate certain people have them, at least one of them. There's only one right now. It's running, allegedly, and it's basically holding up the fort for everything else that's happening. Maybe their proof of concept is, well, if we do this one, X100, and it's able to support all these transactions, once we have more out in the wild, it's going to be amazing. Well, let's assume that everything I just described is what's happening. Let's assume that this is a rigor test. That the second reason you have not got miners is because they're trying to ensure that just with low utilization, that everything can run. Goes back to communication, plan. None of that's communicated from the team. Meanwhile, Jeremy Harkness is out there saying they weren't paid. So because they're not paid, that's why you're not getting them. Marius Bach saying we stopped getting paid. This is what's happening. Lies out there saying they stopped getting paid. Everything circles them back to your money was misused, underused, etc. The partnership's falling out. Everything comes back to the money aspect. They don't want to address it. Since they don't want to address it, it keeps spinning. Negative sentiment is going to hinder what it seems like they're trying to do. That's all. Communication is it's the main thing they suck at with this, because I don't know that I'm right. I see a bunch of stuff being created, but I also see people don't know what the fuck they're doing. I'm sorry, because I know that gold shell model. That gold shell is a beast. You probably couldn't get Bitcoin out of it, but you damn sure should be able to mine Zcash or something else if you really wanted to at a really high peak. So all I can think is it's a proof of concept, that they're still conceptually working towards something, or they're changing away from the Turner era, which changed the specs that are necessary to run the deal. I don't have answers. This is simply to try to encourage getting answers, as well as to share findings for whatever they mean. So feel free to check out miners.dagtech.network/V8 to see the Jarvis dashboard, which is allegedly some of the underpinnings of mining, which is allegedly in preparation for more mining. Allegedly. Everything's alleged. You can look at rpc.blockdag.engineering, but it won't do anything unless you add it to your wallet. I don't recommend doing it till the team speaks out about it. They need to officially announce what they're doing. They might just switch rpcbdagscan.com, which is what I think they should do, and just forward it. That way you don't have to do anything, but they need to speak to it. I don't want to tell you to do something that puts you at risk. So don't. I'm doing it so I can cover it. They need to speak about it. That's their job. Explorer.blockdag.engineering is free and fair to go and take a look at. Staking.blockdag.engineering is free and fair to go take a look at, and I've worked on those. And again, you can see from the screen, I've been able to interact with the staking on that other site that I just gave. It is the actual staking. It is the actual BlockDAG coins. Those work. In my sense, as I wrap up, they're changing something. They're moving something. I get the sense you're dealing with people who don't really know what they're doing. It almost feels like they're starting from scratch. To me, you just own that and say, look, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. That's better than just hiding behind lending and borrowing.